Many Diablo players can agree that the main draw of the game is the incredibly varied and addicting loot system. Thousands of hours were spent killing the same AI boss over and over just to get that one shiny item you've probably been hoping for. In Diablo 3, this extreme desire for winning a high-valued randomized item still exists, but it is no longer supported by the gameplay systems and itemization. Because of the change in maximum level from 99 to 60, much of the progression and class balance has been standardized. The value of an item increases far too linearly as the item level goes up. A very low-level item that drops in Hell will very rarely be of any use to someone who is level 60 and is clearing Inferno. In Diablo 2, lower-level items often gave effects that made them worth using over higher-level items. This gave incentive to acquire uniques to players who were running specific builds. It made the bulk of the game interesting and addicting, while not affecting the standard Bale run metagame. In World of Warcraft, gear progression is incredibly linear and one-dimensional. Loot will drop from bosses, and you often don't even need to look at stats. Something with a higher item level with the appropriate stat will almost always be superior to a lower level item. You can be fairly certain that with the next expansion, the maximum level will be increased and the linear item progression will ruin mostly anything players have acquired at that point. Legendaries, or items that are far more uncommon than a standard rare, are near useless. The damage on weapons are never up to par with items at similar levels, and stats are rarely worth the effort. Because of how nearly every single offensive ability in the game is based off weapon damage, legendaries are never worth using over a blue item with nearly twice the damage. The stat system in Diablo 3 has been oversimplified in a fashion that's similar to World of Warcraft. Only one of the three main stats, strength, dexterity, and intelligence, is useful for any single class. That means that there's very little thought in choosing from different items. A demon hunter, for example, will always choose the item that provides far more dexterity than intelligence. Affixes on items have also been standardized, and many more interesting ones were removed from the game completely. On-hit effects are barely noticeable. Something like Life on Hit is a wasted stat. Affixes that buff specific abilities are much less significant due to the way that class systems are structured. The Auction House, a new implementation to battle gold and item sellers, takes much of the fun away from actually acquiring randomized loot. Due to the nature of random dice rolls, it's much more effective to farm gold to buy the best items for your class in the Auction House. While it's understandable that item selling was a rampant problem in Diablo 2, opening an auction house in the sequel to combat this problem is like the government regulating the sales of crack cocaine to further the war on drugs. It doesn't really solve the problem at hand, it just opens up the option to far more players now that it is front and center. A multitude of other systems have been oversimplified or outright removed. Charms are no longer in the game. Gems are very one-dimensional. There is almost always one choice of gem to use in a socket. Allow me to close this video with an extremely topical quote taken from the forums. The item system of Diablo 2 was of such magnificent design that it drove players to spend out of pocket to get items in the game. Blizzard has seen that and turned it into an in-house revenue stream for them with Diablo 3. Where they've gone wrong is not delivering an item design of the caliber of Diablo 2 that will fuel the same passion that drove players to spend the real money they did on that game.